This is your host, Anne McDaniels, and welcome to another episode of SoCal Sweat. Now, do you ever see those people in the gym on the ab mats rolling their backs and limbs out on those foam core rollers? Have you done it yourself? As a former boot camp instructor, I knew those rollers felt fantastic on the glutes after too many jump squats and star jacks. And as a dancer, I always use them on my quads and hamstrings. Now, with those foam core rollers in mind, I introduced an innovative fitness method called Rollology Fitness. Founder and creator Allison took her second generation Pilates education and found a way to incorporate 36-inch foam core rollers with Pilates movements. The programs are ideal for athletes, physical therapy patients, dancers, and anyone else seeking to strengthen their core muscles, arms and legs, improve alignment, balance, posture, and flexibility, and decrease cellulite. In addition, so many of us are hunched over our phones or in Zoom interviews, which can create tightness, stress, and fatigue in the neck, shoulders, and back. Well, these rollers can also come in handy with the Rollology Fitness methods. Allison is currently training fitness instructors on her program and merchandise, which would be an added addition to your own income. My guest, Allison Limehouse, will help us roll into a better body and career with Rollology Fitness. And today we have Allison Limehouse, the founder and creator of Rollology Fitness. Hello, Allison, in Florida.
Hi.
Were you teaching your instructors all weekend?
I was teaching instructors all weekend. A couple from Florida and one from Pittsburgh. And seems like there was one from somewhere else, but I can't think of where right now.
Well, good. You're really bringing them in. And I was so interested to see, well, first of all, every time I go to the gym and see the people on those rollers in the ab area, I'm just like, oh, that looks like it feels so good. And it's got to just be rolling up those muscles. And there's got to be more to it. Well, you are a second masterclass Pilates instructor. And anybody who knows how prestigious Pilates is, Allison was actually trained under Lordosis and Miguel, who was trained by the master Joseph Pilates, correct?
Correct.
Very strict, right?
Yeah. And Lolita is a prima, well, she's 85, but she was a prima ballerina. And so I'm not used to being that strict. I'm an artist by nature, and that's, they have very bad habits.
Didn't she tell you like, oh, you need to improve your class? Like you said, in true Lolita fashion.
Oh yeah. She, my group teaching was not up to her standards.
Not to her par at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No, very, very familiar with that. So that was you had one of the best trainings then, and I'm sure that really knocked you to your knees, like your pride factor there. So, but you know all the techniques backwards and forwards. And with this, I was very interested to see these rollers. Could you please describe, they're a long 38, or is it 20-inch cylinder?
36 inches. 36.
And why that length?
So you can lie on it and put your tailbone on it and your head. So it covers your spine and your head. So you can relax. So that would be every height, weight, that 28 inches would do that?
36. Oh, 36.
Pretty much. I've had a few people that are a little too tall, like a basketball player, and I had to put another roller on the other end. But pretty much, every once in a while, there might be a really, really tall guy, but they got to be like over 6'5" or something.
Sure. Okay.
Usually it works.
That's excellent. Now, I see the importance of Rollology and Pilates and all of these things right now in the tech. Just as millennials, we're always on our phones. We're always hunched over. I just read an article that we're actually developing a horn in the top of our spine because, especially the millennials, because you're always looking down. And so don't we always have the back and neck problems? And your product solves that. I mean, now we're at home sitting and doing Zoom work all day. I mean, how can your product and how can your classes really help that?
Well, So with the roller being 36 inches, we get people to use the roller to help find neutral spine. And neutral spine is like when you go to the chiropractor's office and they hold up that spine and it's got those natural curves in it. So you want those natural curves, and the head kind of balances on top, almost like a bobblehead kind of. And so that's where we want to get people. And it's always been a challenge. And when I started the class 10 years ago, maybe a little over 10 years ago, I would talk about, you don't want to get a Dowager's hump like your old Aunt Gertrude or whatever. And now it's like, you don't want to have a tech neck like your kid or the teenagers. So it's kind of hitting us on both sides. And with the, it happens kind of naturally anyways as you age, but with the cell phones, like you said, driving, and the computers, it's really, really taking our head down and forward to the point where, 16-year-olds are having a really rough time with it. Not to mention backpacks, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. And so that would, a Rollology class would help strengthen those muscles, elongate the muscles, create more stability with that?
It would, and also it would open up the chest. So what's going on is the muscles in the front are tightening up and closing up, and then the back is stretching out. So, and then, and people don't know how to really identify it. CrossFit and Orange Theory and runners and all seem to not address this situation. So if you're not conscious of where your head and neck is while you're running, for example, you're just making it worse. You're just pounding that head more forward. And then you go back and get on your phone and you look down and you hunch over. And so it's daily, and it's just daily, and people are doing it several hours a day. And so, and I'm not saying go out there and do back bends, but you want to find something that's going to just kind of get you back to your neutral spine. And, there are some exercises that you'd like to do that would be good to do an extension, but if everybody had like a roller to, one of the things we do, well, lying down on it's like number one, you can just relax. We have an exercise, it's called roll like a dog, and you get on the roller and you just roll around on your back like a dog in the grass. And so it just, opens the chest up. And then we get into, your pelvic floor, your core muscles. And we have all these great cues that help people find their core muscles and their pelvic floor and are able, not most, but a lot of people are able to find that neutral spine, but there's people that their head's so far forward or their back is so far around it, kind of like the shape of a cashew. It takes a long time to get them back, maybe even a year to get them back to where they were. They could be reasonably young, like in their 40s or 30s or something.
Or even dancers with lordosis, the back, how the butt protrudes and the hips go forward, or is it backwards?
That's a whole nother ball game. But yeah, that's another thing we work on too. And that's actually a lot of pelvic floor work. And so that's something we work on. Gymnasts have that same problem. And then some people have a combination of with the shoulders going forward and the lordosis. So that's really challenging. So it's kind of like you want the body to, you want it to work, but you want it to also kind of relax and, we tend to hold a lot of stress in our necks. And so when I see people working out at different places, more of the hardcore fit type places, they tend to, I see them like moving their head around, like their neck hurts. And those are the people that come to our class, and I'll have like a competitive bodybuilder or a fireman that's like all buff, and and they're like whining and crying and can't do any of it. And I got a lady that's 80 years old or even 75 doing it just beautifully next to them.
Yeah, because they're so tight. Yeah, even with my own neck problems, being a dancer, I mean, just from the head whipping alone, and then if I have to drive in LA or like for you, Florida, on the 101, I'm snapping my head back and forth 5 or 6 times to change lanes. It hurts every time, and so I know that this could benefit myself. I was also very interested in seeing your blog with the podiatrist and how the dangers of flip flops can really screw up your body. And I mean, my grandma just tripped forward on her flip flops, and she's 90. And we were all mad at her because she's in such great shape. And like, Grandma, don't wear flip flops. But she was like running with literally with like pinking shears, gardening. I'm like, please don't do that. But she broke 2 ribs because she came down on the flip flop. They're so dangerous. Can you address that?
Yeah, we call them the cigarettes of shoes.
Love that. They're so comfortable, and we live in them for the summer, but they really are bad.
I wear them. I caught myself wearing them every day, every of the year, because being in South Florida, working in a Pilates studio, I would just flip them on and flip them off. And I mean, luckily at work I was barefooted, but I'd run around in them when I wasn't at work. And when I met Dr. Fuchs, she's like, you really shouldn't wear flip flops. And so, we had long talks about it. I wear them every once in a while still. I don't think she wears them at all. But I'll wear them every once in a while. And I have a pair, and, for certain things, I'll put them on to ride my bike, or go down to the beach, things like that. But I switched to some Tevas because they have the strap on the back. Mm-hmm. And, I kind of wear Tevas and I have Uggs. It doesn't get too cold here, but those are my two go-to shoes are Teva and Uggs now. And I pretty much have ditched the flip-flops because of that. And what the flip-flops do is, so in order to keep, besides what happened to your grandmother, that happens a lot. They pop, they break, people trip on them, things like that. So there's injuries that happen. But the other thing that happens is with ongoing wear, you get a bunion. So let me see if I can set this up so you can see. But what happens is the big toe like goes over, and it has to hang on to that little rubber thing in the center, and then all the other toes have to kind of claw on. So it causes a bunion and hammer toes at the same time. So repeated wear is going to wreck your feet, completely wreck them. And so, that's why I tell people not to wear them. And I talked to somebody in Hawaii yesterday who's going to be, she sent me a picture. She's got bunions. She's young. And I'm like, they call them slippers. Like you gotta ditch the slippers, like their state shoe. And she's like, oh my God, I can't. And I'm like, you're gonna have to, or you're gonna be in bunion surgery. But the Dr. Fuchs, the podiatrist that I work for, is also a licensed rollologist, believes that basically, if you're, I have clients that are like, oh, I got my grandmother's bunions. There's nothing I can do about it. But that's not really the case. Usually if you got your grandmother's bunions, you got them when you'll have them when you're like 8 or 10 years old. But it's the improper shoes you're wearing and the abuse that you put on your feet and not stretching them and exercising them and things like that. That's what causes the bunions and the hammer toes.
Sure.
And it's bad what happens.
And that's where your work would come in, because I was so fascinated by your toe bands. Looking at your website, looking at your blogs, or just it's a simple toe band on both the big toes and stretching them left to right, and that really strengthens that. So I mean, even after wearing flip-flops or even going running, and you and I have talked about my own injury. I'm doing that at physical therapy right now, but mostly with the big resistance bands. But I pulled all the ligaments and snapped the ligaments and tendons in my foot besides the broken leg. So it's like, oh my God, your little toe bands could really come in handy. I think especially at night, you could wear them at night maybe.
No, well, they're exercise. You kind of got to sit down and exercise with them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I tell people, it depends. With me, I don't do it every day or anything. I can look at my feet and see when the big toe is starting to go over, and when I might start being and maybe if the toes are starting to claw a little bit, I'll do some work with them. And then I teach something called foot, toe, and Merlot, or foot, toe, and T.
Oh, I love that.
And somebody wants a foot, toe, and PR, but anyway, so it's it works really good. And we have, it takes about an hour and a half to go through all the exercises, but you really, really feel the difference in your feet. We do we stand up beforehand and we do 1 foot and then stand, and you feel the difference between the 2 feet. Oops, you there?
Yep.
Okay. So we feel the difference between the 2 feet, and you can really feel a difference. It helps. And then, going back to Lolita, when I first worked out with her, I kind of prepared to see her, like, I worked my abs and I did all my exercises, so I'd be in really good shape, and I prepared. And the first thing she had me do was sit up straight, which I couldn't really do. And then she had me move my toes, which I couldn't really do either. So, and it's kind of funny because that's what, the toe work is part of what I do, but sitting up straight is become something that we just don't do anymore because of the cell phones and
right. And posture, besides that, is beautiful. It also, kind of exudes confidence. The more upright we are with our posture, even with the strengthening of the muscles, it's really good. And also, I was wondering, does this kind of replace the reformers? Like, do you still work with reformers and Rollology, or are your classes strictly just the roller?
I do both right now, but I do have clients, especially right now, that are online, and I do privates and small group classes, and they have the roller, they have the Rollology roller, and we do a full class. And I have one client, actually, I had her right before you, and she feels, she just feels kind of longer and taller, and abs are flatter since she's been doing the Rollology. It's just a different type of workout. I don't feel that you get, you don't get the resistance or the help of the springs with the reformer or any of the other apparatus, but it's portable. It challenges your balance. It kicks in your core. You can do your flexibility. You get everything. I mean, if I was thrown on a desert island, I think I'd have a hard time deciding if somebody said you can have a roller or reformer, which one would you choose? I'd have a hard time.
Well, I think also some people really fear the reformer machines because of the springs. So that might be a good starting point with the Rollology, then go to that. But I think
it would be a great way to get people into it, because well, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad Pilates instructors out there, and a lot of people don't know their basics. And with the Rollology, they would be able to,
They didn't have Lolita. They didn't have Lolita.
They didn't have Lolita. Breathing down their back. but yeah, no, yeah, they didn't have Lolita. And also Pilates has changed a lot. It used to be very strict, and when I got in, the name was copyrighted, and then there was this big court case in 2001, and that's when they kind of the floodgates opened, and Pilates became a word like ballet or aerobics, that kind of thing. So that opened it up, which was good, but at the same time, there's a lot of Pilates out there that I'd be like, I just kind of like, nah.
But you have a true ethos and background, very, very well respected, which is, it's very obvious.
Yeah, and I went to Polestar at the University of Miami too, and that's another, I think, well-respected program.
Absolutely. Now, could you please just quickly describe your 3 levels of training, because you're training instructors all over the world, or just right now, just nationally?
We got a few international, but mainly nationally. We're not in all 50 states yet, but we're trying to roll into all that.
Sure.
Pun intended.
That's and
we do a lot of roll jokes, but Yeah, well, the first one is you can get CECs from the PMA, and then a lot of physical therapists are doing this as well. And I think I got a chiropractor, yoga, bar instructors. There, so one of the cool things is that we have we kind of cross party lines. So we have a lot of good people, like the podiatrist, for example. She'll do little question and answers with the rollologist whenever we feel like we need to do it. And then the same with a physical therapist. And we had a yoga instructor who's a rollologist do a little face workout. So we kind of have all kinds of like cool different things people are pulling in with their backgrounds.
Way to diversify. That's great.
Yeah. And so we start off with one level, and right now we're all online, and the price is a little better, and also it's not so exhausting. It is a lot of work, but it's 3 4-hour days, and then 1 5-hour day, and then there's a good bit of homework. And it teaches you to teach online. You're not going to be working out and people following you. You have to teach and correct.
Sure.
And then I was going and flying places or driving places and teaching that way. And I'd like to do that again too. So that would be something that I'm aiming for as soon as restrictions ease up a little bit. I'm in Florida, and restrictions are eased, but the COVID numbers are going up really high.
And you have to work with every other state as well. But this is kind of perfect for coronavirus when you're teaching, because again, even if you did have a class, it could be very, very spread out. It's easily portable, and then you can obviously do it online. I also saw that I think it's a second certification that's pre and postnatal, which is obviously very important.
Yeah, we do that too. There's certain things that women can do and can't do. I've had a few girls get certified, at least two, that were pregnant, full on pregnant when they did the certification. And so it helps a lot with kind of the aches and pains, and it's very doable. We just have to, when you're pregnant, your ligaments get a little too loose. And so that's something that we address. And then also, oh gosh, they can't be on their back very long. So
sure.
We on the roller on their back for over 10 minutes.
No,
we
it's
also,
good that you instruct that.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to work at a place called, it's no longer open, but it was called Gratitude House. It was like open for 50 years. And it was for women that were pregnant or just had a kid or obese or anorexic. I mean, you name it. It was like, it was all walks of life in there, but it was kind of like a step above jail. A lot of them had on ankle bracelets and all. And some of those girls were so pregnant. And it was just like, oh my goodness.
Sure.
So we were fortunate enough to work with kind of every situation possible.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And also when you train your instructors, do you kind of give them a ballpark figure of this is what you should charge per class, or do they kind of do it on their own? And is it a monitor system because this is kind of coined by you, or doesn't it really matter?
Well, as far as what I tell them, what I get, so when the coronavirus hit, I didn't miss a beat. All my clients got a roller. They went online, and I didn't change my price whatsoever. It just stayed right solid the way it was, and it still is. And then what happened also is when I was just reaching out to a few people to see how they were doing, and some clients that were up north, they bought a roller and started doing it with me. So, because they were kind of stir crazy, and so that worked out good. So I actually, picked up clients, and I tell them what they should get. I don't feel like, right now, if you're going to give something away, give it to a place like Gratitude House or some place where it's needed. But, everybody's trained, everybody's got, a good background, with what they're doing. And people aren't paying for the reformer, for example, or the yoga studio. They're paying for the instructor's expertise. And so that really shouldn't change if the location's changed or if it's online, because I have to work just as hard online. I mean, I may not have to get in the car and drive there. I may not have to, be like perfectly, like look so super perfect or whatever. But yeah, I could be a little bit more casual. And but that's the only thing that's a little different is my drive time. And but they're getting the same expertise. I can see, and actually one of the things that happened, and I'm sure other instructors would agree, is that you see different things online that you didn't see when you're in person. And it kind of goes vice versa, but it goes on, clients that I saw all the time, 3 days a week. And then I saw them online and it was like, wow, I didn't notice that in person. So that was kind of a something cool that happened. But as far as the pricing goes, we're asked to go out and support our local restaurants and local businesses. Well, Pilates and yoga instructors and Rollologists, we're all local businesses too. And it's, the money's got to flow. And if they're giving it away for free to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, which I see a lot of that happening, they're not going to make any money. And then,
right. And then your brand is watered down. Right.
Well, and they're not going to have the same energy into it.
Absolutely. But hopefully it'll pick up. I'm definitely going to give your program to my friend Whitney, who runs a huge geriatric center in New York City. She teaches them yoga and Pilates all the time. So I think this would be wonderful. And these women are like in their 80s and 90s. They are phenomenal. I can't believe it. But again, a lot of them are like the original prima ballerinas. It's kind of a famous geriatric place, but I'm definitely going to introduce her. So before we wrap up, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just was going to say real quick, I have a picture of an 84-year-old that I taught yesterday. She's on my Instagram and on my Facebook page, and she's by the pool, and she's doing Rollology. And she, we do our social distancing. I go see her, but she doesn't want to get online, so I go see her outside, and she has her roller, and I keep my, wear my mask, and I keep distant. But she's on there, and you can see how great she looks. And
isn't she the one that schooled the bodybuilder? That she beat him in the class?
No, she wouldn't dare go to her class. She's privates only.
She sounds very fancy, like Lolita.
Yes, I have quite a few divas, I have to say.
Florida. Yep. That's awesome. So just 2 questions. Who would be your absolute dream client? Like someone who that you just, and can you, like, do you watch these people and like, oh, I could help them so greatly? Who would be your dream?
There's a lot of, athletes. Yeah. A lot of athletes, a lot of people that are really tight. Tiger Woods is close by here. I've never met him, but yet I know he has a lot of issues. So he would probably be a good one. I didn't know the answer to that question. I saw it in the notes, but I didn't really think it through. But that he would be a really good one because of all his injuries, and he has to perform. And also he plays a sport that's very one-sided. So it makes him, anybody who plays golf, it makes them very unbalanced and unsymmetrical. And so Rollology is really good at making the body symmetrical and helping with the balance.
Sure. People don't realize how strenuous golf actually is on the body. Especially like you said, it's the one side only, and it's not like you can switch to the left or anything like that either.
Yeah, it's terrible for the body. But I have a lot of golfers, so I what I can say is that you're having wear and tear on your body from this, but we can keep you playing golf longer.
Sure, especially in Florida. Florida and LA, those are 2 huge places for that. That's awesome. And then finally, what's your cheat food during quarantine or just any time? Because we're all so strict with ourselves in fitness. And what do you love to just indulge in?
I was going to say besides wine and alcohol. No.
Oh, totally. I get it. Merlot and toast.
Something that I really love to eat, but my body doesn't love it, is anything with wheat or bread. I love all that stuff, but my body
Carbs,
just doesn't
yes,
like it.
carbs, exactly. Are you gluten
Yeah,
free?
yeah.
Are you like,
I try to be. I have one of those freaky gut bodies that have always given me
sure,
issues. So, but that's like one of my faves is like, wheat, anything with wheat or grains and stuff like that. But I tend to really stay away from it. But I do indulge every once in a while. And then
good for you. I know there's
yeah,
so many products out there. They're like, oh, they're gluten free and all these things, but it's like, okay, I'd rather not eat cardboard. Thank you. Just, it's almost like
exactly,
worth it to get
exactly.
sick and then be like, oh, who cares? So
Yeah, and
anyway,
I like that. I like all kinds of food. It's just, but and then I try to eat organic and everything. And it's just so expensive. And but I do my best to stay
very
in that
good.
realm of things.
Awesome. Well, it was so great to have you today. And if people want to become an instructor or find you, I'll put all the links obviously in the notes. But Rollology Fitness, is it Rollology Fitness?
Rollologyfitness.com. And we're also on Instagram under Rollology and Facebook under Rollology. And it's actually right now we're having such success with the online certification, and it's so convenient. And we'll have somebody in Mexico, the west coast of Mexico, and Denver and California, and then we'll be on the East Coast, and so it's really working out really well. And it has a good little flow and pop to it. It's hard work, but people seem to be enjoying it and actually having fun. So
Wonderful. And then mostly instructors that are Pilates and yoga. This would just be another addition to their repertoire, correct? So they can really
exactly,
reach
but
out to
also it's another way for them to make money. So I one of the things too that I do is once they become licensed, they can buy and sell the rollers and the clothing and the toe bands and make money. They can make money. I teach them how to make money, and then we have collaborating brands like Shashi socks, Snaffle Bit bracelets, and Gypsy C swimsuits. That's out of Fort Lauderdale. They're kind of from all over, but they get the clothing at a discount, and their products at discounts, the jewelry
That's
at discount,
amazing.
things like
And you
that.
have a really cute logo. It's like a red and black plaid. It's very catchy.
Yeah, I think it's it can go punk or prep, whichever one you prefer.
Sure. It's really cute. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you today. And please go indulge in some Merlot and non-gluten-free bread.
Actually, bread and some olive
Pasta,
oil,
Alfredo. That's so awesome. Thanks again. And we will keep up with you, and I'll put all the links below. It was really a pleasure having you today.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison. And that was Allison Limehouse, the second generation Master Pilates instructor and founder creator of Rollology Fitness. She'd love to help you earn a better body and a better income with a certification of your own. Allison is also gifting a free toe band to anyone who signs up for her certification with mention of the podcast. You'll find everything you need to know on rollologyfitness.com or on Instagram at Rollology. I've also included all the links below in the podcast summary. I appreciate your listening, and stay tuned for my interview next week with former NFL player Greg Bell, who is certainly a leader both on and off the field. Thank you again. And please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. You can also listen on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Luminary, TuneIn, or at Bleav.com. You can reach out to me anytime for any questions or topics you'd like covered on the show. I'm your host, Anne McDaniels, and I wish you a safe and happy 4th of July from all of us at SoCal Sweat.